Hello, my dear friends of good design, and welcome to the Illustrator challenges. My name is Julia Vaca, and I'm your host for these challenges. Welcome, everybody. I hope you're having a great day so far. Today, we're going to be doing a logo design challenge where we're going to be designing a logo for a business of your choice. So I'm super excited for today's challenge, and always please ask questions in the chat. That's what we're here for. And access the starter file in the description below. So all the things that I'm going to be mentioning today are in the description below, and you can access the starter file there as well. All right, my friends. So let me know in the chat if you all are new to Illustrator or if you are already an experienced designer. But let's jump right into this. So this is Adobe Illustrator. If you're familiar with this, we can get started right away. For those who are not familiar, today we're going to be working with the type tool. And the type tool you can find in the left panel right here. Let me zoom in into this. So here we have our cool little animation going that will describe you how the type tool actually works. And all you have to do is click the type tool and create a text box by clicking and dragging. And you can see by default, it gets filled with text. So how fun is that? And then we can click delete on our keyboard and we can type in whatever, for example, welcome. And now you can see our text is quite small, so we are going to select the selection tool right here at the top, and we're going in our properties panel where we can adjust the character style, so the fonts that we have, the typography, right? So let's do that. But first, let's increase the size of our text, because right now it's really tiny here, and we can go into set the font size right here. And we can click onto expand, and we can go in and make it a 72-point size. So here we have our text. Now what we can do is we can go into further adjustments in the paragraph styles, and then we can also have some alignment things that we can do, and that I'm going to show you in just a second. But first, let's go in and center align to center our text. Just like that. So when we type, our text stays in the middle of this text box, right? Then we can go in and choose our character styles. By the way, I'm in the properties panel, which is an amazing tool for us to access all the necessary settings that we need for the tool that we're currently working in, right? So now that I'm working with typography, I have character styles, I have some appearance settings where I can set the fill of the letters and the stroke of the letters, so the outline, right? If I wanted to, I can go in. By the way, I'm zooming in by holding Option and using my mouse to go up and down to zoom in and out. We also have the magnifier tool here, the zoom tool that you can use to do that. So that will give you some orientation in the artboard. All right, so we have our text, and I'm gonna go ahead and show you what the fill and the stroke does. So clicking on the fill, you'll be able to adjust the fill of the text. Now, adjusting the stroke, we can go again, click on the color, and we can give it maybe a yellow stroke, or a blue stroke. So that's how you do that. And then you can adjust the size of the stroke. But today we're not going to use stroke much, but just for your future reference, maybe you want to use it. Now we have our text typed out. We can also go in and adjust the character. So here we have a large font selection that we can access from the Adobe Type Kit. And we can also go in and click on Find More. And here we'll be able to access all the fonts that are available in the Adobe library. By the way, those fonts are all free to access and activate within your Creative Cloud subscription. So you can see I have a lot of amazing fonts here that I can choose from. They're all very different, but what I can also do is to be able to select the font in a more selective way, I can go and turn on some of the filters. So here I can select what kind of font do I actually want. Do I want a font with serifs or without serifs? So the difference between a serif and a sans serif, so sans serif means without serif, fonts, is that the sans serif fonts are more simple and minimalistic, just like this one. Now, if we look for fonts with serifs, we are going to have fonts that have these little, these little details at the beginning and end of a letter. So let's go in and select a serif font right here, for example, Ambroise. And we can go in and zoom in, and we can see that these little details, and I call them like arms and feet. When you have those, this means that this is a serif font. Now, if we go back, we see that the W doesn't have that decorational element here, right? So this is a sans serif font, so it doesn't have serifs. All right, so that, and then we can decide between serifs and sans serifs. Again, I'm going to go into my classifications here. We can also select script fonts, and you can see those are all, they look all like they're handwritten, right? So they're more interesting, more expressive, and those fonts are really great to use for logos, for example, or for maybe captions, or to highlight some parts of the text. Okay, but for now, what we're going to be doing is, and I want you to zoom out and scroll to the right side of our panel here, and part of this logo challenge is to create a custom logo for a business of your dreams using this type tool, right? So what we want to do is we want to select a name, and maybe you have a name in mind for a business of your dreams. And I'm going to be going and maybe imagining that the business of my dreams is maybe a design agency, right? So I'm going to be using the name Designity, and I'm going to type it in here by double clicking Designity. Now I have this font selection made, and what I can do is to sample a color, and I want to sample some of these colors here in my challenge description. I can use the letter I on my keyboard, and the letter I brings out the eyedropper tool. What the eyedropper tool does, it samples color or character style. So you can sample this font, for example, if you wanted to, right? You can see now Designity is written in this exact font and the exact color. Now we can also go in and sample this line color, right? Now you can see I've sampled a color rather than sampling the character style. Okay, so let's do this, and let's find the right font for our logo. And let's go back again into our character settings, and we're going to type in 100. So the 100 point size is a way larger size, and it will help us to be able to see the logo way better. All right, so now we can go in and select the font that works best with our brand that we're designing for, right? So if I'm talking about a design agency, maybe I'm going to go for something more simple. I'm not going to use a decorational font like this one. And by the way, you can see right now, I have all caps turned on. So all my letters are written in caps, no matter if I use caps on my keyboard or not. So that I can change if I go into my properties panel to more options, and here you can see the all caps function is on, so you can see it's activated, and if I click on it, you can see that it goes back to the regular kind of type settings. So when I type in caps, it will type in caps, and if I type in lowercase, it will type in lowercase. All right, so let's go back and continue our search for our font. And I'm going to be deselecting the classification, and I'm going to be selecting sans serif fonts without serifs, because I want to select something more simple and minimalistic for my agency. So Acumen Pro White is a really amazing font that I recommend you using, and you can see it looks very minimalistic and modern, and if your business is exactly that, this is a great font, and it's very flexible and functional. You can see within this typeface there are so many different character style options, so there are so many fonts that are part of this typeface, right? So we can go in and experiment what works best for us. And I think I'm going to be using a medium font for now, and I'm going to turn on the uppercase again, all caps on, so that I can have my logo in all caps without having to type it in again. So we have that logo in all caps, and now we can experiment with font weights. And I'm going to decrease the size of my box just a little bit so I can copy and paste it and create some variation here. So Holding Option, I'm clicking and dragging this logo to the bottom, and I'm creating a copy. You can also I believe here, and I have not used it in so many years probably, but you can also click Command and C and Command and V, or simply go to Edit, Copy, and Edit, Paste. Right? So now you can also create a copy this way. There are multiple ways of creating a copy of an object in Illustrator. Now, what we can do is we can experiment with the fonts that we have within this typeface. So rather than choosing medium, maybe I can select a light font. And what I like to do is when designing logos is I like to create a couple options, and then I like to zoom out. So let's go and create a thin font. And now we can see there is a big difference between these fonts. And when I zoom out, I can see that probably this font right here won't be very well legible from afar just because it's very thin. Now this bold one might be a better option just because it creates more contrast and it's easier on the eye. So we can continue experimenting by creating copies and applying different fonts to our logo and see which one actually represents our brand the best, right? So that's something that I like to be doing. And the reason why I create copies rather than just adjusting the font in one is maybe I want to go back to another older version of my logo that I've seen, that I've created before. Okay, so this is how you create variations of a logo, and this is kind of the first step that I do when designing a logo for a brand. All right, so let's take a look at our chat, and we have a bunch of lovely people here. Biola, Nasir, Sajad is here, Nikki's here, Steve. Cool. Hola. Welcome, everybody. Yeah, feel free to let me know in the chat where y'all are from. We're live here, and also feel free to ask any questions regarding logos or branding. Maybe we can get those answered. Maybe something where you get stuck, or maybe just your favorite font. I would love to hear that as well. Cool. All right. So let's continue and let's go in and make our selection as the next step. So looking at these different fonts, I think I can eliminate this font right here because I think it's not going to be functional for my logo. It's way too thin, and when I make it way smaller, so if I make it really, really small, I'll be able to see that it's not very well legible, right? Although if you maybe just go one kind of one font up, so we have thin, we have extra light, so maybe extra light is a better option, right? So you can feel free to experiment with that, and when I create a copy and use extra light here, you can see that that already has a better functionality, although it's really thin and very elegant, right? Light fonts, they do look very elegant and modern and minimalistic, so but they still need to have some functionality. Okay, so I think for my part, I am going to be using this one right here. I think that works really, really well. And I'm going to hold Shift and select all the other ones that I don't want to use. And I'm going to put that to the left side. Now I'm going to be focusing on this logo. And you can also, of course, feel free to use any of these names and try out whatever, will work best for your business of your dreams. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to create some customization to this, right? And I can play around with typography. And what I want to do is I'm going to outline this font and I'm going to convert it to vector paths. Right now, this is live text where I can go in and still adjust or type in something. Now, once I convert it to vector paths, I'm not going to be able to do that anymore because I'm going to be translating those letters into actual vector shapes. Right? So let me show you how that works. And by the way, before we do that, let's create a copy again, because maybe you want to maybe adjust the name at some point and recreate that logo. So we're going to be, again, holding Option, clicking and dragging. We're going to be creating a copy of this live text. Now we're going to be outlining this second copy. And that we do by clicking Command Shift and O. And now you can see we have actually created shapes out of these letters, right? So we can now move them around. They're all flexible, and you can modify them, and you can even turn them around, or you can even use the vector points to modify the fonts. So we can zoom into the Y here a little bit, and I'm going to be using, instead of the selection tool up here, I'm going to be using the direct selection tool, where I can actually access the vector points, right? So I can click on this point and I can click and modify my letter the way I want, right? So this is what letters are actually made for. They're made of vector points, and those points are either a curve. So you can see here between these 2 points there is a curve, right? 1 point and 2 points, and those curves, those curved paths, they are defined by these handles. So the handle kind of defines how the curve flows. And that's basically what all shapes in vector format are made of. They're either vector points that are a corner piece, or they are a smooth transition, so a curve, right? So either corner or a smooth path. So now we can also go in. Right now this is a corner point, and I can go in and transfer that into a smooth path. Now you can see that may be not the best solution for our letter, but this is how that actually works. All right, now what I want to do is I want to customize this logo and make it super unique, because every logo should be unique. It should not be just redesignable by anybody else in the exact same way. So that's why instead of just typing out a name of a brand, we want to really customize the logo and make it very special and unique. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these points here at the bottom, again using the direct selection tool, or you can also use the shortcut A on your keyboard. So clicking A, you are going to be able to access these points with a direct selection tool, okay? And then clicking the letter V on your keyboard, you're going back into the regular selection tool, okay? Again, A for accessing the vector points, and V for the regular selection tool, where we can select whole letters or groups of objects. Okay, so again, A, and we're going to be selecting, holding Shift on our keyboard. I'm selecting the first point, and I'm holding Shift, selecting the second point. Now I have both the points selected. Or what you can also do is you can create a selection box around those 2 points. Just make sure that you don't select any other points that are surrounding in the surrounding area. So let's click and drag those 2 points down, and you can see we have this pink line up here, and this pink line is our guide. The guide helps us basically to go straight down and to not move to the side, right? Once we have this guide on, it helps us snap to that center, right? So that we stay vertically, so we don't go and modify our letter the way we don't want to. Okay, so we have that, and now I'm gonna let go, and we have that Y modified. So now we have actually customized our first letter. How cool is that? And this is how easy it is. All you have to do is type something out, then you outline it using Command Shift and O, and then you can use the letter A on your keyboard to access the direct selection tool, or simply click here into the direct selection tool. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to create a line that connects the Y, and maybe a line that kind of underlines the whole word and connects with the letter Y. So I'm going into my rectangle tool right here, and I'm going to create a rectangle, which is almost looks like a line, right? But actually it is a rectangle that's just very, very skinny and thin. Okay, so like that. And what we want to do is, what kind of is important in this rectangle is that it has the same height as the letters have, right? So if you look at the letters, this should be the same height as this line. So we can go very precise here, and we can compare it, and we can adjust it to the exact height of, let me make this a different color so we can see it better. Okay, so this is our underline, and this is the height of the letter. So I'm going to go in very, very zoomed in, and this is actually just a very designer thing to do. because we are so detail oriented. And once you start doing that, your design kind of view will change forever, because you will always look for the details and, you know, matching the sizes exactly. So now we have the exact height of the letters, and I'm going to pull that back down, and I'm going to use, remember which letter it was for the eyedropper tool? It was the letter I on my keyboard, and I'm going to sample the color of our letters, which is actually a very simple black color, but you know, it's, yeah, it could be, it might as well be an off black or a color that's not exactly the same, but we want to have it exactly the same, because we want to be precise when we're designing logos for a brand, and logos that will be used in so many ways, right? The person who is going to be using this logo is going to apply it to different media, right? And so that's why we want to be really precise, so that even if this logo is printed on a huge billboard, it still looks like there are no little, you know, steps, or like, for example, if I leave something like this, right, a little imperfection from afar, you don't really see it. It looks fine, right? Now, if I print it on a huge billboard, suddenly the printer will be like, hey, this designer did not do a good job. This designer was not detail oriented at all. So that's what we want. We want to kind of, we want to be the designers who are into detail and are working very, very, detail oriented. Now, another thing, and for that we can use the rulers. So I'm going to click the letter Command R on my keyboard, and I'm going back into the selection. So now we have these rulers appear at the top, and it's here horizontally and vertically, right? Now, clicking and dragging from that ruler, we can create a guidance for us, a guideline, right? And now we can actually arrange this rectangle exactly to this line. So let me go in and let me pull it in just like that, so that we know we are exactly on the same level where the letter D starts, okay? Now we can select this guide, and we can simply click delete on our keyboard, and now we have a really nice, well-designed logo. Another little trick that I want to show you is, so once we select these two letters, and by the way, right now the word Designity is all grouped. So when we select it and click Command Shift and G, we are going to ungroup these letters. Now they're all by themselves, and I'm going to select the Y and this line. So this, rectangle that's very, very long. And holding Shift, I'm going to select both. And in my Properties panel, I'm going to click Unite. Now, if I use the letter A for the selection, I can go in and create some angles in here if I want to. So I can go in and modify that even further if I'm into that, if I really want to create something kind of reflecting the letters. That would be actually really cool. But for now, I'm going to leave it like this, very minimalistic. We have created a really cool customization to our logo. And let me see what is going on in the chat. All right, cool. Let me see if there are any questions. All right. Cool, there's some play conversations going. Great, awesome. I'm glad there are no questions. If there are any questions, feel free to put them into the chat. All right, my friends. So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be exporting this logo. So I'm going to move this original version into the background, and imagine this as being your artboard. So kind of like a frame for your artwork, right? And I'm going to select my logo by creating a selection box, clicking and dragging basically around it. Now we have that selected, and I'm going to click Command and G to group it, because I don't want no elements to be moved around anymore. I'm pretty set on this, and I want to export my logo now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it in the left corner, and then I'm going to hold Shift, click and drag. Now, if you don't hold Shift, this is what's going to happen. That's not what you want. So hold Shift while resizing your logo, right? Now we have that, and I'm going to use my artboard tool right here at the bottom, click on it, and now you can see this is my artboard. I'm going to make it smaller like that. And now I have my perfect frame for my logo. I can even go a little bit more precise and export it like really, really tight to the edge. But for now, this will do. So now I'm going to go into File, Export, Export As. Now you want to have the transparent background, right, in the logo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a PNG file out of this, where I'm able to use a transparent background, and I'm going to click Use Artboards, I'm going to use PNG, and I'm going to click Export. Now here in this section, I'm able to select the background color to transparent. And now you can see the preview shows me that the logo background is transparent, and now I can place this logo on any background that I want. Okay, now I'm gonna click OK, and my logo is already exported to my computer, and I can go ahead and apply it to any kind of design that I want. Now, as a next step, what I would do is I would experiment with some colors maybe, and maybe create some other variations. But this is basically it, my friends. Logo design is super fun, and basically what the steps are: just create a logo, type something out, create copies, experiment with fonts, and customize it, make it special. All right, my friends, so I'm hoping this was fun, and I will see you at the next challenge. Have a good day. Bye bye.